Dan, are you? Sorry, Dan. 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 Well, I've called the meeting to order, so I would just like to welcome everyone to the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage. I'll be filling in for our chair, Ms. Fry, for a while here anyway. This is the 63rd meeting of our committee on the 42nd Parliament. And so I'll just begin with reading this, that pursuant to the Standing Order 81-4, main estimates 2017-18, vote 1 under Canada Council for the Arts, votes 1, 5, and 10 under Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, vote 1 under the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, vote 1 under Canadian Museum of History, vote 1 under Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21, vote 1 under Canadian Museum of Nature, vote 1 under Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, vote 1 and 5 under Department of Canadian Heritage, votes 1 and 5 under Library and Archives of Canada, vote 1 under National Arts Centre Corporation, votes 1 and 5 under National Capital Commission, vote 1 under the National Film Board, votes 1 and 5 under the National Gallery of Canada, vote 1 under National Museum of Science and Technology, vote 1 under Telefilm Canada, and vote 1 under the National Battlefields Commission, referred to the committee on Thursday, February 23rd, 2017. And I want to welcome, and appearing with us this morning is Minister Jolie, and with her is the Deputy Minister, Mr. Flack, and Chief Financial Officer, Andrew Francis, as well. So welcome, and thank you for being here this morning. And I just want to provide the Minister with any opportunity to have an opening remark and some moments there, and then we'll get into the questions right after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for leading this session while Mrs. Fry, the chair, usually does so. So let's start like this. Alors, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'd like to thank you for asking me to appear before this committee. I am joined today by my Deputy Minister of Canadian Heritage, Graham Flack, as well as the department's Chief Financial Officer, Andrew Francis. The work that you do is so important to the work that we do in the Canadian Heritage Portfolio. Your studies in areas like the impact of digital technology on media consumption, the state of Canadian museums, and the future of the CBC directly relate to some of the portfolio initiatives that I will speak to today.
Our government places a high priority on Canada's arts and culture. In Budget 2016, we made a historic investment in the arts and culture sector, $1.9 billion over 5 years. This was the largest investment in this sector in 3 decades, and we're still the only G7 country having invested so much in the field. Communities, large and small, continue to reap the benefits of programs, infrastructure, and initiatives that are helping to build a strong economy and a diverse and inclusive society. And this has never been so important, particularly this year, as it is the Canada 150 year. Since I last met you in November, we have launched our year-long celebrations of the 150th anniversary of Confederation. The activities continue all year, giving Canadians a chance to come together, to reflect on our past, and to envision a future full of possibilities. Over the past year, it has been my great privilege to travel to all communities, big and small, across our country to hear Canadians talk about their vision and ideas for the future of Canadian culture and content in our digital world, and about the importance of strengthening services in official language minority communities. And I take my responsibility to each of them, and to our government very seriously. Le virage vers le numérique a transformé.
The digital revolution has changed our world. The frontiers between broadcasters, creators, and consumers are blurring. Canadians access content through different channels. We can no longer ignore it. New international actors, such as the big digital platforms, have become prominent figures in the digital landscape. This is a unique opportunity for our creators to conquer our new international markets. I look forward to presenting Canada's first cultural export strategy to support them. I also look forward to presenting my vision for our new cultural policy toolkit this year.
What we have accomplished so far and what are the 2017-2018 main estimates that will help us to accomplish in the coming year. Our department is seeking $1.4 billion, an increase of $150.2 million, or 11.6% from the previous fiscal year. Included in this amount are $1.2 billion in grants and contribution, $208.8 million in operating expenditures, and $25.8 million in statutory authorities. Let me highlight some specific initiatives that we have planned for this fiscal year to support our mandate. L'augmentation la plus importante du budget principal des dépenses.
The most significant increase in the main estimates is an allocation of $84.1 million to the Canadian Cultural Spaces Fund. This funding is vital to help support Canadian creators and the expression of their creativity within our communities. In doing so, we will strengthen the prosperity of our society and our economy.
Part of our Canadian identity. As such, the 2017-2018 main estimates include $17.6 million to increase French and Indigenous language services in Northwest Territory, the Yukon, and Nunavut. Notre gouvernement est aussi un ardent défenseur des langues officielles au Canada.
Our government also stands up for official languages in Canada. I've been listening to official language minority communities since I became minister. We've had 22 roundtables, and over 7,000 Canadians have participated in consultations. The priorities of those communities are mine and those of our government. Currently, we are working on a roadmap for our government, a strategy to ensure the vitality of our official languages to increase the bilingualism rate in our country. In this regard, we've had a number of successes that you've heard of already. A few weeks ago, our Prime Minister had the pleasure of putting Madeleine Meilleur's name forward as Official Languages Commissioner. Our government is proud of the merit-based process that led to her selection for this role as an Officer of Parliament. This appointment must be supported by members of Parliament and Senate representatives. The appointment process for the Official Languages Commissioner was open to all Canadians. At the outset, it was put on the website of the Governor-in-Council and it was accessible to all. The candidate had to meet strict criteria in terms of their experience, had to have the knowledge and skills and capacities needed to defend our two official languages. A third party, the Boyden firm, assessed the 72 applications required based on the job description. The selection committee, made up of public service members, studied the files and chose 12 candidates to move on to the next step, interviews. I'd like to specify that the selection committee worked by consensus and that all members had the same weight. Given the interviews, fewer than 10 candidates went forward to the next step, which were psychometric evaluations and reference checks. Following that step, the committee gave me its short list of candidates.
Minister responsible for official languages, I conducted interviews with each of the shortlisted finalists. While it is not required, I thought it was important at this stage to take the extra step of consulting with my opposition critiques, Madame Boucher from the Conservative Party and Mr. Choquette from the NDP, on the preferred candidate. Madame Meilleur's superior qualification, expertise, and experience were acknowledged. Following these discussions, a formal letter of consultation from the Prime Minister was sent to the leaders of the opposition parties in the House of Commons and the Senate. La candidature de Mme Meyer est clairement sortie.
Ms. Meyer stood out for her experience defending and promoting official languages for Franco-Ontarians. Her unique expertise in the area of official languages made her the best choice. I could talk about her experience at the Municipal Council, where Ms. Meyer worked with her colleagues to create a bilingualism policy for the City of Ottawa. This commitment, which encourages the inclusion of Franco-Ontarians in municipal life in Ottawa, came after her involvement in a campaign to prevent the closure of Hôpital Montfort, the Franco-Ontarian Hospital of Ottawa. I'd also like to highlight that when she was Minister for Francophone Affairs in Ontario, Ms. Meyer supervised the creation of a position for a French language commissioner and ensured its independence. We wanted to have the most skilled person to ensure respect for the Official Languages Act. Ms. Meyer is this person, and her experience speaks for itself. I am proud to put forward a candidate who will defend official languages as she has done throughout her career.
2017 includes funding for initiatives that foster Indigenous languages and cultures, and I would just like to point out some key initiatives, 3 of them actually. 69 million over 3 years to enhance the Aboriginal language initiatives, which supports community-based projects and activities focused on preserving and revitalizing Indigenous languages. 14.9 million for Library and Archives for its ongoing work to digitize the existing Indigenous language and cultural materials, and 6 million for the National Research Council Canada, which is working with Indigenous stakeholders as it develops information technology to help preserve oral histories. Of course, we will seek additional funding through the supplementary estimates for Budget 2017 initiatives. Once these funds are approved, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Merci.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. And we will begin the questioning with 7-minute rounds, followed by a 5-minute round as time allows. And we are sitting for the 1 hour, just to remind my colleagues on the committees. And so we will begin with Mr. Breton.
Merci, Monsieur le...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister. Thank you for being here with us today, Mr. Flack and Mr. Francis as well. Minister, regarding the Canada 150, we're already 5 months into the year, and I'm proud of your leadership and your vision in this file, and the people of my riding are very proud to be able to participate in celebrations for the 150th. Could you give us an update on the program overall at the national level regarding what was planned? And where can Canadians today and tomorrow go to celebrate different projects? Thank you. We launched the Canada 150 celebrations on December 31st in 19 cities across the country. And celebrations have 4 themes: the environment, youth, diversity, inclusion, and Aboriginal reconciliation. We have a $200 million fund to support programs for these celebrations, and we've received requests for projects which would total about $1.7 billion. So there's a lot of enthusiasm. I had the opportunity to make an announcement with you at the Granby Zoo with you last week. There was a good project, $148,000. It was to support an environmental project to raise environmental awareness in that area in Montérégie and Estrie. Of course, that's for a community project. For the Canada 150, we have a number of celebrations that will be beginning shortly. There are 4 celebrations that we'd like to highlight. The first is the Aboriginal Day on June 21st. Then there's the Quebec Day, and for all Francophones, in fact, June 24th. Third is the Multiculturalism Day, June 26th. And then finally, Canada Day, July 1st. Over the course of those celebrations, those 19 cities will be participating. That's to ensure we have proper representation so that there's representation in those 19 cities. Canada Day will be celebrated in those 19 areas. For people who'd like to find more information, there's a website available. There's also a mobile app, which is Passport 2017. I invite all members here today and all members of the House of Commons, as well as senators, to download that mobile application, because the information that people are seeking is available on that application. Thank you. My second question regards the Cultural Spaces Fund. It's a fund that had a budget increase regarding its funding in the last budget, and so we're very glad to see that. Could you tell us what type of program will be receiving those funds, how it will be accessible to municipal groups and nonprofits? Could you give us an update on that important topic? The budget proposes $1.8 million over $108.2 million over 10 years to strengthen cultural and recreational infrastructure. $1.3 million is for bilateral agreements between provinces, territories, and the federal government. $300 million over 10 years for the Canada Cultural Spaces Fund, which is managed by Heritage, and $80 million over 10 years for educational infrastructure in official languages minority communities. So different nonprofit organizations throughout Canada can request funding from the Canada Cultural Spaces Fund managed by Heritage Canada. The same goes for infrastructure funds for communities, for official languages minority communities. Regarding bilateral agreements in municipalities, to answer your question more specifically, there have to be discussions with the provinces because these requests come from municipalities and provinces usually, and then the federal government engages in discussions and approves them. So the best approach is to have a discussion with the provinces, especially in Quebec, where there's a specific directive, M30, where we have to ensure we discuss these things with the government of Quebec. That being said, I think this is great news. It's a historic investment in cultural infrastructure. Our government, after 10 years, we were the first to change the criteria for bilateral agreements with the provinces and territories to allow for infrastructure funding for cultural spaces. So we've changed the criteria for past programs, and it will also apply to new programs. We're ensuring that there's funding for cultural and recreational infrastructure. Minister Carla Qualchura, Minister for Sport, and myself are very pleased with these announcements. Thank you very much for that update. Do I have any time left, Mr. Chair? All right, I'll let that go.
Have our second questioner is Mr. Van Loen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's great to see you here. It's great to have you here, Minister, as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think was a great mistake by the Government of Canada, which as part of its war on history chose to exclude history and Confederation as themes of the 150th anniversary of Confederation. And I think what's becoming apparent now is that is creating a real disconnect between where Canadians are, Canadian society at large, and where the government is, and sort of painting, I think, the government as being elite and out of touch. And what I want to show to you is that despite the government's decision to exclude history and Confederation, there's an enormous grassroots, community-based sentiment out there that is asserting those themes despite the government's stubborn, bloody-minded refusal to do so. And I'll give you some examples. Among organizations, the Canadian Press, for example, has been running its series, Canada 150, A History of a Nation, and it's a different feature every week on Canadian history. The Canada Games organization, their website features a photo of the Fathers of Confederation on their homepage, and the theme of the 2017 Games in Winnipeg is 50 years of the Canada Games, 150 years of Confederation. The St. Andrew's Church in Toronto, for example, had an event Singing Our History, a Canada 150 celebration. The students at Waterdown District High School have prepared an exhibit that looks at local history and then connects it to the larger Canadian story. The Toronto International Film Festival has been running ran an exhibition, 150 Essential Works in Canadian Cinema History. You see that from organizations like that. The universities, the academic sector in Canada, the University of Regina, for example, has been having a lecture series, The Making of Canada, that focuses on Confederation. York University holding a conference, 150 Ideas that Shaped Canada over the past 150 years. Simon Fraser University has been having a lecture series, Confederation in Question, that examines various aspects of Canadian history. And then you have communities, of course, spontaneously are doing this. Mine and Georgina, they've focused on history. Brockville celebrates 150 years of history in 150 days for Canada 150. Okotoks, Alberta, Our Place in History, Community History Since Confederation is what they're doing. Nanaimo, they celebrate Canada's 150th anniversary with stories that intersect local and national history. Whitchurch, Stouffville, they're having historical lectures and Jane's Walk of pre-Confederation homes, tying it back to our history. Sault Ste. Marie, they're holding a number of events. My favorite, they're having a Confederation lobster lunch to pay tribute to the original Confederation conference. It's so bad, the disconnect between sort of the elite approach of the government to ignore history and where ordinary Canadians are, that the Beaverton ran a satirical article saying 75% of Canada's 150 budget has been spent on hiding the worst parts of natural history. When you can get satire like that, that I think tells you how great that disconnect is between what Canadians intuitively understand the 150th anniversary of Confederation is about. It's about celebrating our history in Confederation, and the bloody-minded refusal of the government to include that as a theme. I have no problems with the themes you've got, but will you acknowledge that it was a mistake to exclude history and Confederation as themes of the 150th anniversary of Confederation?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to correct the record here. Of course, we're extremely happy to be celebrating the 150th anniversary of Confederation. One of the key elements we'll be inaugurating on July 1st is actually a major renovation at the Museum of History, which is the History Hall, which will be presenting the history of Canada. So that will be one of the key legacies of our government. Also, we've been involved in funding many of the history-based projects, one of which actually was mentioned by my colleague, which has been presented by the Toronto International Film Festival, TIFF. And so I just wanted to make sure that my colleague understands that this was funded by Canadian Heritage. Also, I would like to provide you with other examples. For example, the Equal Voice project, where it was the Daughters of the Vote, celebrating a 100th anniversary of a woman being able to vote. And of course, we were all there, seeing beautiful young women, 338 of them sitting in our seats. So that was just a great moment in our Parliament. And just to give you other examples, for example, the monument that will be celebrating the Stanley Cup 100th anniversary, the Vimy Foundation for its project First World War in Color to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Vimy and Passchendaele battles. Also, on Prince Edward Island, which my parliamentary secretary is very fond of, the commemoration of the Charlottetown Conference in 1864, we gave $5 million to a project called Celebrating the Creation of Our Nation 2014-2017. And in terms, I know that my colleague Van Loan is very interested in museums, especially in museums that present history projects, which I'm very fond of. And I would like just to give him examples of projects that we have funded to support the importance of history. So in the Waterloo Region Museum has received nearly $200,000 for its exhibition presenting the impacts of women on Canadian society since Confederation up to now. Another exhibition, which is called Justina Barnick, which is at the Justina Barnick Gallery, which is called A Story of Canada to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Confederation, or even at the Musée Maritime du Québec, an exhibition which is called Sur les traces de Franklin, to, of course, talk about the great quest of Franklin in the context of his own travels across the Arctic, the Canadian Arctic. Another project also, which my colleague O'Regan would really like, because it's at the Memorial University of Newfoundland for the Grenfell Campus Art Gallery, a project called Architecture and National Identity, the Centennial Project of 50 Years On. And I could go on and on, but I would like also to say that for my part, coming from Montreal, I was there for the launch of the 375th anniversary of the city, which was on May 17. And I really hope that in the context of the 150th anniversary, we take this opportunity to reflect on our past, but also envision a future with full of possibilities.
I'm going to have to move on.
If I could, I appreciate that you acknowledge many of the projects that were initiated under our government that continued under your government, but I will take it as an acknowledgement that it was perhaps a mistake to exclude history, and many groups have been declined funding, as you know, for their projects because of it. And there are other examples where you see people stepping up and celebrating history.
Move on.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to wait till the next round.
Mr. Nantel.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Fleck and Mr. Francis, for being here. At the outset, I'd like to say this isn't my main issue, Ms. Mayer, and I know she's defended Francophones. But I won't speak on behalf of my colleague, Mr. Choquette, but it's clear that her appointment, this nonpartisan appointment announced in the Sunnyways campaign, well, that's not very accurate, and you have my sympathies for having to navigate this. It hasn't been an ideal process. I'd like to talk about something that seems much more urgent. It's the disaster coming up in our media. You showed a lot of courage in reviewing our policies and programs. I think you've bitten off more than you can chew. And we are experiencing the same thing in committee with our study on the media. It's very broad, and it becomes difficult to find the way out, to find solutions. So I understand, and I told this to your Deputy Minister, I hope there are things coming up, because the more time goes on, the more things deteriorate. And here's my question for you. As we wait, we must ensure that the main actors don't provide cut-rate solutions like the CRTC just did. So what will you do with the CRTC decisions from May 15th? Will there be new hearings, because Section 28 allows that? Many groups are asking for that. You said yesterday that people from the industry need to express themselves. They've done so. They've been asking you to overturn the decision for 2 weeks. Will you do so? Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, colleague. Of course, technological changes underway currently in the media industry, in entertainment and culture in Canada, are having huge impacts on these industries and also on broadcasting in the country. I look forward to reading your study on media because, as you know, it's a significant and complex issue. So that's why we've undertaken public consultations. We did so last year. Nearly 30,000 people participated. Ms. Jolie, with all respect, I understand all of that. I've heard that. Mr. Nantel, I'm getting to that. Thank you. So in those public consultations, we prepared a report. It was published in the spring, and later in 2017, I will be presenting my vision for this area. Will you contest the CRTC's decision? That being said, the CRTC put forward a decision. It's an independent body. I am studying the impacts of their decision in order to understand what the repercussions will be for the audiovisual sector. Once I have concluded studying its impacts, I will make a decision. I would invite content creators and artists to make their opinion known. And at this point, given that I'm still studying the impacts, I will limit my comments on that topic. That being said, what I've said a number of times is that given technological changes and the changing habits of content creators and consumers, well, we don't have sufficient protection for culture in Canada. We have to also promote it. So I hope our content creators are ready and confident. I must interrupt you. You are living dangerously. The whole industry is waiting for you to protect our cultural outreach. It's great to talk about exporting. That's certainly the case with Quebec, but we need our domestic market. So just talking about exporting, that's great. We have digital technology, but at the end of the day, we have an industry that works here, people who are experiencing disastrous conditions. In the CRTC,
creators to make themselves heard, but they're begging you to, for 2 weeks. Actually, CMPA, Directors Guild, and Writers Guilds, they all ask you to ask the CRTC to reconsider this decision. You can do that now. They've already told you what they want you to do. How long will it take for you to reconsider and to report this decision to the CRTC?
As I said in French, of course, we are right now preparing to present our new vision, and which will lead to different projects in line with how we can modernize our broadcasting and telecom system. We said in budget 2017 that we would be modernizing the Broadcasting and Telecoms Act. That's the first time in 30 years that for the Broadcasting Act we would be doing so. Our entire toolkit is based on an analog era that is not in line with how people consume content and what are their expectations. I'm hearing what different stakeholders are saying. My team and I have the chance to meet with them. We're in constant communications. We're right now studying the impact of the decision of the CRTC, which you're referring to. And meanwhile, I'll have the chance to present my vision later this year in 2017. We believe in the arts and culture sector. We invested $1.9 billion in 30 years. But Mr. Nantel, I must say, this is the most creator-focused government in 30 years. And so I understand the importance of this decision, and that's why I'm studying the impacts. But let's just be clear here. We have clearly invested and recognized the importance of the sector, and therefore they can really believe in the importance that the government is giving to them. Because that's really the fact.
Thank you very much. We'll have to move on. I need to turn this over now to Mr. Brujan. 7 minutes. Thank you.
And thank you, Minister Joly, for being here today to speak with us. I'm going to be sharing my time with MP Dan Vandal. Last week, I attended an economic club luncheon, and Miranda Mulholland spoke very forcefully about what she has seen as some of the negative impacts of the digital shift on music creators. And even just over the weekend, in my riding, I've talked with local authors and creators who have raised issues, and a lot of them turn on the Copyright Act. So my question for you, because we're in 2017 now, is what are the government's plans with respect to a review of the Copyright Act?
And thank you, Julie. Of course, I'm happy you were at the lunch of Miranda. I had the chance to discuss with her a couple of times about the impact of music streaming and her capacity to be able to live from her work, and the evolution over time in her career in terms of her own remuneration. And that goes a bit to the point of Mr. Nantel. I'm very, of course, concerned about the question of fairness to creators in the context of this digital disruption. And that's exactly why I decided to launch a conversation, an international conversation about the importance of cultural diversity and fairness to creators with digital platforms. I went to UNESCO to talk about it. I went to the World Economic Forum to talk about it. I went to the first G7 Minister of Culture to talk about it. And I went at the heart of Silicon Valley to talk with digital platforms, namely Google, Facebook, and Twitter, to talk about it. And that was the first time they heard from a Minister of Culture in the world to discuss these issues. And so we know that there's a parliamentary review of the Copyright Act that is coming. We'll be working on this, and certainly the importance of fairness to creators and protecting IP for creators will be something we will be putting forward. Thank you.
Merci, Ministre Joly.
Thank you, Minister Joly. First, I would like to publicly thank Canada 150 for having funded a wonderful community event on Sunday. The National Métis Union was celebrating its anniversary as a Franco-Métis organization. It's the oldest at 30 years old, and it was funded by Canada 150, so thank you very much for that.
Because I know there's funding in the budget for that. According to Census 2011, there are over 60 Indigenous languages in Canada, and 3 of them account for almost 2/3 of the population having an Indigenous language as their first language. I'm wondering, since this is an important issue coming forward, I'm curious as to how your department will look at moving this issue forward. Will it be the languages that are used most often? Will it be done regionally? Will it be a mixture of the two? And what is the fate of languages that are spoken less often, such as Michif, or Manitoba, Saskatchewan?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So this is a very exciting initiative we're working on. So the Prime Minister announced in December that at the AFN that as a government we would be co-developing the first legislation on the protection, enhancement, and promotion of Indigenous languages in 150 years. And that will be also the first legislation co-developed with Indigenous organization in 150 years. There are 90 different languages and dialects in Canada. This, of course, presents an opportunity, but also a lot of let's just say difficulties, because the state of different Indigenous languages are different. But of course, we'll be working with the 3 important national organizations, mainly the Métis, the Inuit, and the AFN, on this important work. And we would like to introduce legislation, of course, before the end of our mandate, to make sure that we have a legislation to protect these important languages. Entre-temps, ce qu'on a fait aussi, c'est travailler.
Meanwhile, we've also worked on how we can build a bridge to ensure funding for different Aboriginal languages because there are a number of them that are at risk. They have a lot of difficulty in terms of their vitality, so we've invested $90 million over 3 years in the budget, and we also have an agreement with Nunavut, Yukon, and the Northwest Territories to increase funding for Aboriginal languages.
Mr. Van Loan? For 5 minutes.
To continue on that theme of the Liberals' war on history, the refusal to have history and Confederation as themes of Canada 150, and how Canadians are...
Mr. Van Loan, I jumped the gun, sorry. You have 2 more minutes if you...
Oh.
If you'd like to go ahead. You had 7 minutes. That was a 7-minute round. You and Julie were splitting that. So would the two of you like to carry on, or would you want to come back to it later?
I'll continue.
Sorry.
When you concluded, Minister, you talked about partnerships with the three provinces, the partnerships with the North. Can you speak more on that?
Yes. So we were able to do actually an agreement with the 3 territories to support French and Indigenous languages in Nunavut, in Yukon, and in the Northwest Territory. Of course, these territories have proclaimed some Indigenous languages as part of their official languages. So in that context, we agreed on the support of these Indigenous languages, and I think that Indigenous organizations and, of course, the territories are extremely pleased with this new funding, which is $17.8 million every year, actually, for Indigenous languages. And I can have my Deputy Minister just provide more information on these agreements.
Just to give the scale, the existing funding for Indigenous languages for the territories is $3 million a year, plus the funding through Yukon, which is for through self-governing agreements through INAC. With the new funding at steady state, it'll be an incremental $8 million a year, plus an additional $3 million through the self-governing agreements through the Yukon. So it's a very significant increase, well over double the current funding.
Thank you very much. Your time is now up. And Mr. Van Loan.
As I was saying,
yes,
there is this disconnect between the government's refusal to allow history and Confederation as themes of Canada 150 and what ordinary Canadians are doing and the communities are. And I went through a bunch of them. It's happening in the private sector as well. Fitzhenry and Whiteside Publishers, they are celebrating Canada 150 by profiling our books about Canadian history. Harbour Air in Vancouver, they have 38 otters and beavers. They are iconic in aviation and Canadian history, and they are having some of them painted in special 150 Canada colours to show that. Moosehead Beer has an advertisement on TV. We are all pioneers, a conveyor belt with labels all about Canada's history going by. Canadian CIBC, the bank, is linking its bank's history to Canada's history through its ads. CP Rail has a transcontinental train initiative with 13 stops celebrating the first transcontinental train trip. And there's my favorite one, which is Clara Windows, which has this beautiful ad I received. Even our founding fathers had beautiful windows, so can you. And it's, of course, that picture that we see up there that you know so well. Happy 150th birthday, Canada. So the private sector is doing it. Another way in which the Liberal government has, I think, failed to honour his histories and traditions is the unfortunate decision to not have a medal honouring ordinary Canadians. We had medals in the Canada 125 year, in the centennial year honouring ordinary Canadians, the Silver Jubilee of Confederation in 1927, and of course there were medals in the Confederation year. But that initiative, although well advanced under the previous government, was actually cancelled under the Liberal government. And we have people stepping in. A lot of communities are going to, on Canada Day, have celebrations where they honour their community leadership and give out awards to them. Bradford, West Gwillimbury in my riding is one of them. You have in addition to communities like that, the St. Francis Xavier History Departments issuing starting a new tradition of issuing pins for their graduates in history. And then, believe it or not, you have the private sector stepping in with efforts to fill that gap. Molson's is doing an initiative to seek nominations for significant community members across Canada. It's going to give 150 of them one of those red beer fridges. So there's a clear desire among Canadians to have that kind of recognition. But again, this government has failed by stepping back from it. And I want to know if you would acknowledge that that, again, was a mistake, an abandonment of a tradition that meant a great deal of Canadians, and is it something that you wish you had done differently if you could do it over again?
Minister Jolly.
Yes, of course, in the context of Canada 150, hundreds of companies have been and are involved in supporting Canada 150. Maybe CN, maybe Le Creuset, maybe Canadian Tire, and I really see that the private sector has been extremely involved, extremely interested in making sure that this celebration is actually celebrated by all parts of our society. So that's great news. I would like to continue on presenting other projects that are presenting our history.
If you could answer the question, the actual question I asked was about the Canada 150 medals.
I would just like to continue to answer.
I would like you to start to answer about the Canada 150 medals.
I would like to talk about the different other projects, and I'll get to the medals as well. And so
time is short.
The National Film Board actually is also supporting different documentaries explaining our history. And I'll give you just a couple of examples. The documentary called Apocalypse 10 Destin, which is presenting a documentary on the First World War. Also, a French version of John McCrae's War in Flanders Fields. Also, an important NFB project, which is to talk about 40 years of history and culture in Labrador from Inuit communities, which is called Inuktitut, transmitting our history. And also Generation 150, a collection of 14 pictures, interactive pictures, exploring the themes of heritage in the context of Canada 150. Also, there's going to be a co-production about Louis Riel, which is presented at the National Arts Centre. I'm convinced that my colleague Vandal will be interested in that one, and we're supporting it. And also, the very important documentary, which is called La Grande Traversée, which will be presented by CBC Radio-Canada, which talks about the first French settlers in Canada. And I really hope that all of you have received their pins, because you've received beautiful pins presenting actually the Canada 150 emblem, which is also presenting also the copper of our Parliament roof. They're beautiful symbols that can be given to key leaders of your communities, and I hope that my colleague Van Loan will take this opportunity to celebrate the leaders in his own writing and community. In the context of Canada 150, of course. Thank you.
And did you want to answer the question in regards to...
Well, it's not part of the systems of honours in Canada, which of course is what all the other medals were. A pin is nice. There are all kinds of nice pins. But we were discussing the notion of Canada's systems of honours, and what I'm seeing here is kind of a half-baked acknowledgement that, yeah, we kind of made a mistake, but we don't want to admit it. It's the same as all your other admissions that here are things we funded on history, even though we've excluded as a theme. I'm simply asking you to acknowledge that it was a mistake to make those decisions in the first place.
And the only thing I would ask is if Ms. Jolly wants to answer in regards to the medallions that the question was asked about.
Yes, I did answer the question, which is basically we have a great opportunity. Actually, all MPs and senators have an opportunity to celebrate the leaders and the leadership they can see in their own communities based on the 4 themes, which of course I'm reminding you are the youth, environment, reconciliation with Indigenous people, and diversity and inclusion. And there are great, beautiful pins that have been developed with the copper of the House of Commons roof. This is a symbol. This will be a legacy pin, and I really hope that you can share it with the key leaders in your communities. And I'm convinced that people will be happy to see this important symbol. Thank you.
Mr. O'Regan, and this will be split with Mr. Sampson.
Merci, Madame la Ministre.
Thank you, Minister. I followed your visit to California closely, and I was impressed by the quality of your meeting with technological stakeholders. Could you give us an update on your trip and tell us about what's new in Canadian content? And here's another question that's related to that. Recently, concerns were expressed internationally about Canada's position on net neutrality. Could you explain your position on this issue to us? Thank you. I had the opportunity earlier to discuss this issue in answering Ms. DeBrusen regarding the importance of cultural diversity. Canada signed the UNESCO Convention on Cultural Diversity, and when it was signed, Canada was really the leader in developing that concept, which was that we should protect through legislation and regulations this aspect of culture, and there are 140 signatories that added their name to this convention. So it's referred to in all major agreements, including CETA. So in the area of international trade. So I'd like to bring that concept into the discussion on digital platforms. That's why I went to UNESCO to discuss it. I went to the World Economic Forum, the G7 for cultural ministers, and Silicon Valley. So I wanted to discuss cultural diversity on digital platforms in a digital context. And this is a first. I talked to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Google, which includes YouTube, of course. And I presented 5 important principles.
Digital platforms about what is the social contract on the internet. And for me, it includes 5 things. First of all, the diversity of voices. Second of all, being able to support local content. Third, access to trusted news sources. Fourth principle is countering cyberbullying online and hatred speech. And finally, the 5th one is fairness to creators, which we talked about with colleague Nantel and Dembrusen. And so it was a very interesting discussion. And we have to keep on leading on this discussion, because Canada is the first country, usually, that is the first export market to the US. And that's why we feel the impacts of digital platforms before many other countries. And that's why we need to be playing that leadership role, and meanwhile, developing a first policy that is adapted to the digital age. And that brings me to your second question about the importance of net neutrality. So what is net neutrality? It's being able to treat all data equally. It's actually treating data on the internet like treating electricity. You won't be charged based on the light bulb you're using, but you're just being charged based on the electricity in general you're using. And that is based on a economic and a social policy. Economic, because you actually want to make sure that the internet is an open and free space in order for startups and businesses to be able to develop new business models, new projects that will ultimately always push innovation and create growth. That's extremely important. And the second, it's a social policy, because the internet is a tool to access knowledge. And it's the most powerful tool in human history. And you want to make, as a government, we want to make sure that even people having less income are able to have access to data, notwithstanding their capacity to pay for content. And that's why net neutrality is an economic policy, but it's also social policy, and we'll be defending it. But we don't see a contradiction between net neutrality and cultural diversity, because we think that by having an open and free internet, we can also have a diversity of voices, of choice, because ultimately you can't have real choice if you don't have diversity.
Thank you for your 5 minutes and 20 seconds, Seamus. Madam Minister, I'm going to give Mr. Sampson, he had a question that he wanted to ask here as well.
Thank you, Mr. Maguire. Thank you, Minister, for your presentation and for the update on different topics. My question is a quick one, but important. It's the Court Challenges program. The former government cut it, and I can tell you that official language minority communities lost out. I know you believe in it. You restored it. Could you tell us why it is so important for you and what you are doing to continue to build on that? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Protecting language rights in this country is a priority. That's why the Justice Minister and myself announced the restoration of funding for the Court Challenges program to support language rights and also to support fundamental rights protected by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So the goal, of course, was to stabilize funding, to have an overall approach, and ultimately to support groups that defend language rights. So we ensure that governments throughout the country respect their obligations. The Court Challenges program, to us, is a logical extension of language rights in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So they are constitutionalized, and they're included in the Official Languages Act, which is quasi-constitutional. So that's why I made that announcement. Currently, we are finalizing the details for the implementation of the Court Challenges program. I hope that official language groups in the country will be able to promote and defend language rights. Exactly.
We have a number of the main estimates. I want to thank the Minister and staff for being here today as well. I'll ask the indulgence of the committee as to whether they want to go through the main estimates line by line, or if I can ask to have unanimous consent to put the question on the estimates collectively. And so I will ask that. Otherwise, it's a line-by-line process. Okay, I see agreement amongst that. Mr. Nantel agrees.
What is the rush? She's done.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yep.
There's 2.5 pages here of lines to go through if you want to do it line by line, but...
So we can free the minister, though.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, pardon me.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister and staff again for being here. Okay, we have unanimous consent to put the question and estimates collectively. So shall the main estimates of 2017-18, less the amounts granted in interim supply, carry? Agreed? And shall I report the main estimates of the 2017-18 estimates to the House? Yes. Agreed? Okay. Thank you.